got some new faces. This is a good thing. Good morning. Well, you know, I always have to kind of tell a story about something in my life and then relate it to the Bible. And I was doing my little research, and all of a sudden I found a good line, but then I read it in the Bible, and goodness, it's pretty strong. So, you know, I never like to preach. That's not my way. But I'm going to tell you what it's about. So, how many of you have ever been on a farm? Okay. You have relatives or friends with a farm? Yeah. Have you ever, no, how many of you have ever seen hay fields as you're driving down the road? Any of you? Yeah, okay. They can be pretty big, huh? Yeah. So I had the pleasure of being with my good friends up in Michigan for the Memorial Day weekend. And they are farmers, and they were going to be cutting their hay. And unless you've been with a farmer, you have no concept of the risks they take. Because they cut the hay, and then they pray real hard that there's no rain, because if they've got the hay on the ground and it rains, it ruins the hay. So then, if the hay's ruined, then the horses and the cows and everybody that eats it doesn't have it to eat, right? So the farmer feels very responsible. So anyhow, I was there, and it was beautiful sunny days, so they made that decision to cut the first round. And they've got a lot of land, so they were cutting hay enough for 700 bales of hay. Can you imagine? And guess what? You know, they come off someday. Maybe some of you will work on a farm. It's a really incredible experience to take those bales. Hay gets cut, and then they go into a machine that turns the hay into the bales of hay that you've seen. And then young people are pulling those bales off that conveyor belt and putting them up in the wagon. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of back power. So I was thinking, well, how can I relate that to the Bible? And in my mind comes up the term, you've heard, you reap what you sow. Has anybody heard that? Yes? You have any idea what that means? What does it mean? What do you think? You what? You lead yourself in your problem? And that's not far off, and that's why I said, oh my gosh, this is a little preachy for me. But the idea is reaping means to cut, like they cut the hay, right? Okay, but you're close. It's called a metaphor, and you know, in the Bible, there's lots of metaphors, and metaphors are pretty complicated, in my opinion. So you reap, which means you cut that hay, right? And you reap what you sow. So a farmer has to really take care of those fields in order to have good hay and get hopefully a second cutting and sometimes a third cutting. So they have to really monitor it. But the metaphor is this, and this comes out of Galatians, which is a book that was written by Paul. Is it Galatians? Yes, Galatians. And what he's saying to a group of people who are Galatians, who are from an agricultural community, he's talking to them in a metaphor because they can understand that. And he is saying to them, if you are good, you will reap what you sow. And if you are bad, the Lord is not immune or not knowing of that bad you may do. He may not tell you or do anything to you right away, but in the end, you may not end up in heaven, right? So you reap what you sow. So if you're good and you're kind, you will sow happiness, and you will sow the support and the love of God and Jesus, right? But if you reap and don't take good care by what you sow, then you will not have eternal life. So that's the message that that sweet little one-liner implies. But I thought it was a good one. So anyhow, we're going to go to Sunday school now, and I'll say
through Christ our Lord. Hear what comfortable words the Scriptures offer. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest."
In light of the circumstances of our current discourse about who to elect and the current discourse in our own churches about who gets to worship, I sing these words.
The Lord be with you. Lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is right and a good and joyful thing always and everywhere to give thanks to you, Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth. You formed us in your image and breathed into us the breath of life. When we turned away and our love failed, your love remained steadfast. You delivered us from captivity, made covenant with you. If you go to Leviticus chapter 13, you find out. Chapter 14, we'll get there eventually. Yeah, they were busy indeed. Now, leprosy had a lot of forms. Some of them were the leprosy we think of. Others were just rashes. Like if you got into poison ivy, you are ritually unclean. So you cannot go to worship until you've been healed. But you cannot be healed until you've seen the priest, and the priest have done their stuff, and you're healed. Doesn't matter that there's nothing wrong with you unless you've been cleansed by the priest. You with me? Okay. Well, there was a young man outside of Jerusalem maybe a half a day's walk. Family, 3 children, young wife. He was in his early 20s. And he had an issue. He had an eruption in his skin. And he really didn't want to go and get it taken care of, because he had work to do. And it's a half day there, and then you had to see the priest, and half a day back, and you lose the whole thing. So he delayed, and he delayed until he could delay no more. And actually, it was beginning to bother him because he suspected it was more than just a little rash. So one night, as he lay in bed with his wife, he said, "I'm going to Jerusalem in the morning. I have to have the priest look at this rash." And she said, "Oh, it's nothing, don't worry about it." He said, "No, I have to go." See, he had a duty to his family, a duty to his village, to get it taken care of, in case it was something that they could get. So, he rose early, and he was scared. It's like going to the doctor because you have a pain and you don't know what the pain's being generated by, so you just know there's a problem. You don't know what it is. He was worried. And as he got up from his sleeping mat, his wife still asleep, he stroked her hair and he went over to the children. And he lifted them one by one and hugged them and kissed them. And the tears began to come. He hadn't even noticed that his wife was up looking at him. And she said, "Why are you so frightened?" And he said, "It doesn't feel right." And she said, "Don't go." And he said, "I have to." And he did. Went out the door, she barred the door behind him. And he set his face toward Jerusalem, tears still coming down his cheeks. Out in the village before anyone else was up and about. They didn't even know he'd gone. So he goes to Jerusalem. Usually takes half a day to walk. It took him a little longer than that. He wasn't in that big hurry. And every step was so hard. Finally, he got to the temple, and he said, when he got to the temple, to a young priest, I need to be examined. The priest said, "For what?" And he said, "Leprosy." Now, it didn't mean that disease we think of. It just meant he had an issue. And they said, "Oh, okay, just a moment." They took him back into this area where they did their examining. They didn't do it right out there in front of everybody. Basically, they said, like the doctor does, "Just robe, put this robe on." So he disrobes and he's standing there, and the priests come in and they look at him. We need a little more light. So they take him to a place with a little more light and they look at it a while. They confer a little bit. There's a young one and an old one. The young one's in training. The old one's doing them. Okay. So he's talking with him about it, kind of ignoring this poor guy who's sitting there going. Finally, the older one looks at him and says, "You are unclean. You are a leper." So he falls down right there. He takes the dirt and he throws it in the air. And he messes up his hair. He takes the dirt and he throws it in the air. And he starts out of the temple, covering his lip and saying, "Unclean! Unclean! Unclean!" All the way out of the city. And as he says that, it's like Moses parting the Red Sea. People are getting out of this guy's way. Now, if he were trying to come into the city saying unclean, then he'd chucking rocks at him. But he's not. He's leaving. So they understand. This is just diagnosed. So out he gets. He's got free passage out of the city. Then what? He's out through the gate. He's a little distance from Jerusalem, and he stops and he thinks, what do I have to do now? Where do I go? It's not like he could go over to Holiday or someplace and get some time there. There's nothing like that. There aren't hospitals. There are no agencies to reach out to get help. There's nothing. He's by himself, a diseased man. And he thinks, I've got to tell Rachel, his wife. Got to tell her. So he sets his face toward the village and he goes back toward the village. And it's dusk. The sun is setting. And he says, as he gets to the village, and they didn't even recognize him. He was covered with dirt from the road. His hair's messed up. Tears coming down. And finally somebody looks at him and says, Joseph? Joseph, is that you? Joseph goes, I'm clean. I'm clean. And people from the village come out and they say, Joseph, Joseph. Rachel comes out and says, Joseph! And he says, I'm clean. His children want to come running up to him. He says, no, I'm clean. I'm clean. I'm clean. I'm clean. Where does he go? Where would you go? Now, you don't know any other lepers. So there's not a community of lepers to go to. There's nothing like that. He wanders. He cannot go into any village. He cannot go into any city. He can't go down and wander along the beach and ask the fishermen for something. He can't do any of that. He goes to the dump, to the trash. Maybe there's something there. What he discovers there are what other lepers have discovered there, and that's other lepers. Safe place for the night. Close to the city, but not in the city. And they can scurry out of sight in a hurry. So he finds a band, maybe 6 or 7, and they welcome him in because they've been where he is. And they form a band, and they grow to a manageable size. Manageable because 10 is too many for somebody to harass, just for the sake of harassing. Now, I know none of us would do that, but you know people do. And not so big that they can't find enough food for all of them. Remember, they can't beg. They can't sit at the door with their hand down. They can't walk up the median of the road with a sign, leper, help. Can't do that. None of that is available to them. Just this band of 10. And all they know about one another is the name. Because the rest of it doesn't matter and it's too painful to talk about anyway. So they sit around the fire at night, dreaming their brighter dreams, sharing what they can, and trying just to survive. Looking at the guy next to them that has been a leper much longer and therefore is much less attractive, thinking, there I go, just give me time. Then, in all their wanderings, they hear about this itinerant preacher from Nazareth. And they think, well, that's great, but how am I ever going to get close enough to him so they can impact me? I can't go marching into wherever he is and say, I'm here to see Jesus. I'll never get there. I'll be dead before I get within a mile. And so there they are at their campsite outside someplace between Galilee and Samaria. And guess what happens? Jesus comes by. Now, he's not coming right by where they are, but they have picked up enough from travelers that they can hear. They picked up enough to know where he is, and they're in that general area, and there he is. What happens? What happens? And what does he say to them? He says, go and show yourselves to the priests. Your faith has made you well. Now, if he had just said, you're healed, go home, guess what? they get stoned. They cannot re-enter society except through the priests. So the healing is irrelevant as far as they're concerned because they want community there. So Jesus saying, go and show yourself to the priests, and they're booking it, all 10 of them. And then one of them, a Samaritan, thinks, holy smoke, if I go into Jerusalem, I'm going to get stoned anyway. I better go back the other way. And he goes back. That's the one. That's the one who didn't need to go to the priest, at least not their priests. And he goes to Samaria. The other 9 were good Jewish boys. They all went to the priests. Guess what? This isn't anywhere in the manual for healing. Oh, but you didn't think there was a manual? Trust me. There's a manual. Oh, there is a manual. It's in Leviticus 14. What a manual. Now here it is. 9 of these guys outside the city gates jumping up and down like they're crazy, saying, get us a priest, get us a priest, get us a priest. You know, the city guards going, get out of here. No, we've been healed. We're okay. The priest has to look at us. Get us a priest. And this is what the priest is going to want to do. Now, there's a whole section here about what it takes to be healed and declared clean. Doesn't matter whether you're physically clean, you have to be declared clean. So this shall be the ritual for the leprous person at the time of his cleansing. He shall be brought to a priest. The priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall make an examination. If the disease is healed in the leprous person, the priest shall command that 2 living, clean birds and cedar wood and crimson yarn and hyssop be brought for the one who is to be cleansed. The priest shall command that one of the birds be slaughtered over fresh water on an earthen vessel. He shall take the living bird with the cedar wood and the crimson yarn and the hyssop, dip them in the living bird and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over fresh water. He shall sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord, and 7 times upon the one who is cleansed of the leprous disease. Then he shall pronounce him clean, and he shall let the living bird go into the open field. The one who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes and shave all his hair, eyebrows, all his hair. And bathe himself in water, and he shall be clean. After that is not done, he shall come into the camp, but shall live outside his tent 7 days. On the 7th day he shall shave all his hair of his head, beard, eyebrows. He shall shave all his hair. Then he shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and shall be clean. On the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish and 1 ewe lamb. This just keeps going. Okay? It just keeps going. And then when it's done, guess what it says? If you cannot afford any of this, you know, 2 birds to start with, then the lamb, 2 lambs to follow that up. If you can't afford any of that, there's another way to do it. And guess what? These 9 guys have been wandering around homeless for who knows how long. So we know it's going to be the other way. But then what happens is he takes some blood from the one that was slaughtered, and he puts it here, and he puts it here, and he puts it here, oh, wrong foot, puts it on the right toe. On the right earlobe, on the right thumb, and on the right toe, puts the blood. He does that twice. And then he's got this oil, and he's made a sacrifice with the oil 7 times before the Lord, and then he sprinkles it on this guy, and then he pours it over his head. He's put the oil on his ear, on his thumb, and on his toe, and poured it on his head. Okay? Finally, after this is done not once, but twice, he's pronounced clean. So this is what, a 2-week, a little over 2-week process to get cleansed? And now he can go home. So here he goes, going home. And he's wearing his rags, you know. They're clean rags now because he's washed them. But he's wearing his rags. And he's headed home. And he comes up over the last hill into his village. He looks down there, and everybody's out there working. And he starts to cry. And he starts walking down through there. And he's just focused on Rachel. She doesn't see him coming. The whole village begins to look at this guy. I mean, this is kind of strange. Got the sun behind him, right? He's coming down the hill. And I know because I've done this, you put oil on your head and you put the sun in the right place. And, just... and he's walking down through there like this. And people are going, oh, what's this? And he's walking along and hasn't seen Bob in 3 or 4 years. He goes, hey, Bob. Bob goes, Joseph, is that you? Yeah. I'm clean, man. I'm clean. And he sees Rachel and he hollers, Rachel! Rachel! I've been healed. And the whole village gathers around. And they say, what happened? And he says, let me tell you what happened. And he tells them the story of the lepers and of meeting Jesus and of being in the temple and outside the temple and outside Jerusalem, waiting to be declared clean so he could come home. He was dead, and now he lives. "15 years later, it's an old man, maybe 20 years later. For his time, an old man. He's sitting by the well. And the kids come up and they say, Grandpa, Grandpa, tell us the story. The story? What story would that be? The one about how you were dead and Jesus brought you back to life. Oh, you don't want to hear that story. You know that story. You don't want to hear that story. Yeah, we do. And all the kids are jumping up and down. So he says, well, all right, sit down and tell you the story. Then he tells the story, his story of faith. And the reason I have to tell that story today is because this summer, coming right here to a chapel near you on Wednesday nights, you have an opportunity to tell the story. I don't care if it's a biblical story that you want to share, or it's a personal story of faith that you want to share. As long as you're not preaching, but you're sharing a story, I want you to do that. I've got a sign-up sheet back there. I'll put up the schedule once I've got it together. It all depends on you. I've told this story. You can tell a story. Your story of faith is important to this community of faith. If you don't tell it, who will? So, what do you think? You interested? I've already talked to Rachel. She's going to play for us. Sometimes. So we're going to sing some songs. It's going to kind of be like a Lenten service. You're going to have 45 minutes, 20 of which you get to tell your story in. If you go anything past that, I'm going to have a big hook made. Right. Now, just a few words from our mission team, who are back. Yay, mission team. Everybody wins. Stand up. And it's actually for the younger ones. I know the answer from the bigger ones, the older ones. So the question is this. Would you do it again? Why? And that's what you need to tell us. Would you do it again, and why? Go for it, Grace. You can do
Okay, I'll
it.
start off. Okay, so I would totally do a mission trip again because I love helping others and I love meeting new people, especially when we were on this trip. I met this little boy named Mason, which was the son of one of the ladies we were helping, and he was so cute and adorable. He helped us out all the time, and he just was so interesting to talk with and everything, and I loved him so much, so I'd totally do it again.
I would also do it again because I love helping people. In this mission trip, we really connected with the people we were helping, and it was just a great experience. I connected with God so much during this trip, and it was amazing.